So I've been studying in Deuteronomy, and kind of the background for Deuteronomy is Moses had been leading the people to the promised land, and now Moses was not going to get to enter it because of the sin that he did. But before they were going to enter in the land, God had given some words to Moses to share with the people. And one of the things that just kind of struck me this morning was there was this constant reminder to these people. He had just reminded them of all the ways that they had been rebellious and constantly sinned, but how God remained faithful to who he is and what he had promised to get them from where they were to where they were going to be. Regardless of their rebellion, he still remained faithful to it. And he had just reminded them of that. And then he was telling them of where they're going to be and how great it's going to be. And then he had to remind them to remain faithful. He said warning after warning, and it's a very similar warning. For instance, in 6:14, he says, do not follow other gods, the gods of the peoples around you. And I find this interesting because Victoria and I just came off of a weekend for Passport to Purity. And one of the things that we talked about was peer pressure. And I was thinking, wow, this is an example of that. Do not follow other gods, the gods of the peoples around you, for the Lord your God, who is among you, is a jealous God. He's not jealous because there's other gods out there. He doesn't have to be. He's jealous because he demands our full love, worship, and praise and adoration of him. That's what he needs. And that's what he desires from us. So anyways, there's constant more reminders. He's telling you to be careful that you will not follow any other gods. And he says here, this is one I love. He says, do not worship their gods, for that will be a snare to you. That's in 7:16b. It's a snare. And I don't think that we realize. I was struck because this is back then where the idols and images were really obvious. They were golden images. They were created. There were all types of statues and things that were created. It was really obvious, the other gods. But we live in a culture now where we've created these gods that our culture has deemed completely appropriate to give our praise, adoration, and hard work towards, like money and fame and status and education and even family. To have the perfect family, the best kids, the most bright kids, the kids with the best athletic ability, the kids with the best music abilities. These have become our gods, and I don't think that we realize that they have. And in that place, we are sacrificing all of these things that God meant for good. We're sacrificing them on the altar of money, fame, perfect families, all these things. We're sacrificing our devotion, our love for God on these altars. And I don't think that we realize that. I didn't realize that. I was thinking about it this morning. What have I become ensnared by? What is it that our culture constantly, day after day, puts out in front of us that seems so okay and seems so great? And you know what? Money and education and health and family behavior, all those things aren't bad. That's not what I'm saying. They're definitely not bad. But he went back to the fact that it was their heart. Look what it says here in 8:11. It says, be careful that you don't forget the Lord your God by failing to keep his command and the ordinances and statutes I'm giving you today. When you eat and are full, and build beautiful houses to live in, and your herds and flocks grow large, and your silver and gold multiply, and everything else you have increases. So basically, when life is good and everything's going your way, you've got this great job, you've got money, you've got land, you've got everything that you thought you would have. He says, be careful that your heart doesn't become proud and you forget the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. Now, this was specifically for the Israelites, but this applies to us. When everything that we see is going right and we've got money and we've got our house and we've got our kids going well, even if it's not in a form of being wealthy, but just being happy and having things go well with us, even then we have to be careful that we don't become proud. Am I doing really well as a parent because of me and my hard work? Am I doing really great at my job because of me and my abilities and my education and my hard work? Am I getting that promotion because of what I have done? Or am I going to remember that all the things that are going in my life and all the great things and wonderful things in my life, they are there because God allowed them to be a blessing in my life? We have to be careful to not become proud. But even more, I want to pose the question, and I questioned myself this morning, what am I sacrificing on an altar that is man-made? And I'm sacrificing things that God meant for good. He wants my family to love him. He wants me to have a good marriage. He wants me to be faithful to him. But am I willing to sacrifice those things for these man-made, culturally deemed appropriate idols like money and fame and status and education? Am I willing to do that? And I think sometimes we don't realize that's exactly what we're doing. And in the process, it's not going to be happy, because God said, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. And he said, these words I am giving you to be in your heart. That was for me. But then he even gave me this command. I need to not just love him and have it be in my heart and be what I practice. He said, repeat them with my mouth to my children. Talk about them when you sit in your house and when you walk along the road, when you lie down, when you get up. Bind them. That's what grounds me. Bind them as a sign on my hand, and let them be a symbol on my forehead. Don't be embarrassed by that. Live my life for Jesus Christ. Write them on the doorposts of my house. Let all those who enter my house know that we are a household of faith and that we love the Lord. And I just want to have that be an encouragement to you today, but also be something to think about. Are you willing to sacrifice what God has desired to bless your life with for the things that culture and our society say should be the idols in our life? Because I think we're already kind of doing that without realizing. So I pray that if you don't know if you're doing that you'll just take the time to pray and ask the Lord, what have I set up as an idol in my life? And what do I need to get rid of? And rid that out of my house and get it out of my life, so that I can place him back in the forefront and as my God and the center of my life. So from my heart to yours, I hope this has been convicting, but also encouraging.